this. Let's do this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ladies of the PGS. I am your host, Arden, and of course, we have Lorena Creole with us tonight. How are you, Lorena?
I am doing great, wonderful. It's been a great weekend, and I'm so glad to be here with all of you.
Well, it is wonderful to have you here as always. And of course, there's a lot to talk about, Lorena, over these past few weeks. I would have never guessed that what the topics that we would have. Of course, one of the first things that we absolutely have to talk about um,
Mhm.
is Wakanda Forever. And you and I have actually spoken a lot about Wakanda Forever. I guess because there is so much to say about Wakanda
This is
Forever.
true.
And I know that it for a minute, or at least it felt at some point, we might not even get this film. There was questions about different things, and you and I have talked a lot, as I said already, but I just wanted to kind of look at it again because it's been the first weekend, right? The
Right.
the first opening weekend, which is a huge indicator oftentimes of how well a film will do,
Hmm.
expectations, all that good stuff. And I definitely want to kind of, look at it. And of course, here, I pulled up the Rotten Tomatoes rankings here. But honestly, and I also kind of like want to do maybe a little non spoilerish because there are some people who watch the show, maybe they haven't seen it yet, and maybe they want to go see
Right. Right. Exactly.
but as I had described, I personally described it kind of like it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. And, from the trailers, what you see is what you get. And I famously said I didn't love it and I didn't hate it. What are some of your non spoiler impressions of Wakanda Forever?
Non spoiler. Well, it is set up to tug at your heartstrings, and that seems to be the general reason for the existence of this film. So it does do a good job at doing that. Uh, Overall, I would say this wasn't a film that I felt you had to rush out really to see. Just after seeing the film, it was something that I felt would have been better as a Disney Plus exclusive rather than being in theaters, just because of the quality of the writing of this. I didn't feel like it was up to the MCU standard, let's say up to Endgame. It's definitely not up to that level. It's definitely not up to the level of Black Panther. Uh, Definitely very, very female led, which is what we saw in the trailer. Namor, who I guess they tried to set him up as the villain, and I can't really say that he's that. He is definitely an antagonist, but villain. Mm, I don't think he's set up to. He isn't set up to be that. As for any other thoughts about it overall, if you're looking for a popcorn flick, it's okay as a popcorn flick. As for rewatchability, I would say it's pretty low on the rewatchability level. However, it's going to make money because people are curious to find out what's going to happen now that, unfortunately, we've lost Chadwick Boseman. So people are curious to see how this movie is going to pan out. So it definitely will do a reasonable amount of money. I believe last time, I think Valiant Renegade posted, I think it's about 20% off of what Thor Love and Thunder did. So it's tracking about that same amount of money. Is it going to be an absolute blowout hit? No, no, I wouldn't call it a blowout hit. I will say it's there. It ends the MCU Phase 4. Um, they didn't stick the landing on it. I mean, it landed, but it kind of didn't. It didn't stick the landing like WandaVision did not stick the landing, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And I think that what's really interesting, and first of all, thank you so much for the super
Hey, Punk Trace.
Thank you so much. That is so generous of you. We so appreciate it. It's a sticker, but I don't know whether I can see what it is.
Usually he does an emoji with devil horns.
Oh,
That's
okay.
usually the
Thank
trace.
you so much. We so appreciate that. It's so kind of you to support the channel, to support the
Mhm.
PGS, Lorena and
Yes.
myself. We appreciate it. Certainly does help us to continue to grow the channel and to continue to do things like this. So thank you so much. And we hope you're doing well
Mhm.
tonight, everybody in the chat as well. I agree with practically everything you said. I think it would have been interesting if they had decided to do a series just to close it out, like let's say about Chadwick, because I think we could have gotten sort of like a very lengthy, if they haven't already done one, documentary about this.
Absolutely. It could have been, they would have had more time to do more exposition, to answer the questions out there more satisfactorily. It's kind of like we said in our long form review, that it felt like the script for this, what we got on screen most likely is not how the script started out. Parts that just seemed disjointed, things not explained very well, plot holes in a lot of different places. I think that if this would have gotten, like, say, the Andor treatment with 12 episodes or so,
Hmm.
the story would have been told to a much better conclusion in the state that it's been given to us at the theater. So that's why I'm making that comparison. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and it's something to think about because people are asking for that, and I think I would have. This might have been the first time ever that I think I would have liked to have seen the other actors' responses. And normally, we're not that. It's not important to necessarily see their opinions and stuff, but this might be an exception to see something like that. I would have paid money for a documentary to see, the cast of Black Panther salutes Chadwick Boseman. I would have paid money for that. And I think it is very telling to say that the fact that I would have paid money for that means that our approach to how this could have been handled could be very different, and
Hmm.
might have needed a different type of treatment. Follow that with a series like what you said on Disney Plus. Just go ahead and do the Riri one, and then they could do if they had done that in that manner. Let's say with a documentary where we get to actually go ahead and cry it out, because I'm still crying about this whole thing. We all are very, very hurt, and it still is very painful that Chadwick is gone. And so there are tears to shed. We might not be, leaving that alone for a while, but with a documentary and then maybe the series with Riri, if that's what they wanted to go with, just to kind of step away from everything for a while. And then come back hardcore with Shuri if she was going to do that. I mean, it's the tone sometimes that can be so important in a series like this. And you were right, Lorena, the film it's turning a profit. People are going to see it. You and I went and saw it like
Hmm.
very, very early on because we're excited to see this film. Of course, we're excited. And, in all truth, we definitely want this film to be a success. I know you do too. This is what we all wanted from this film. We were excited because we were going in and we do have certain expectations, but we also do want it to be a success. And we are very happy for everybody who does and has fallen in love with this film. We are happy for you if you're one of those people who has fallen in love with it. That's good because that's what the production has intended for you to feel in this
Hmm.
particular film. So that was the intention. And in regards to doing this, it took a lot of effort to put all this together. Certainly, there is that. Um, you had mentioned some very interesting things about Namor, and
Hmm.
I also felt the same way in regards to Namor because this man he was, as you said, kind of presented as a baddie.
Yes.
And from the trailers he kind of looks like a baddie. It's like, who is this guy? He's kind of flying around, and then it's funny because one of the clips that they did release, so this is not a spoiler, was Namor speaking to the queen and Shuri, and I think it was very interesting because he didn't seem like a baddie in that scene. And so
Mhm.
right, I mean, what did you think of
Right.
that?
In that scene, he seemed like somebody who, let's say, got lost on their way to where it is that they wanted to go and found this really cool place. Like, wow, this is really, really nice. I'd heard legends. It's kind of like how I felt when I first saw Bucky's I mean, those of you who know about Bucky's, like the Disneyland of truck stops and everything that you can get, like it's like they merged a convenience store and a truck stop all, all together. It's like I'd heard legends of this place. And now that I'm here, I'm just, he just seemed wide-eyed and childlike, you know, about it. So if anything, he didn't come off as the big bad. He just came off as the I'm curious about you guys. We want to be like you. Uh, this threat that it's your fault that now it's exposed. Now I'm exposed. Guess what? You need to fix that. And if you don't fix it, I'm gonna fix it for you. I'm trying to do this as spoiler free as possible,
Right.
but you get that just in the movie. It isn't. I'll tell you the difference between a somewhat antagonist and a baddie. It is not like this movie opened up with Black Panther and Namor on a beach kicking each other's asses. I mean, we're talking Spartacus fight to the death. We're talking James T. Kirk and the Gorn. We're talking, exactly what I'm talking about. It's this
Yeah.
epic, drawn out fight. Now, if that would have happened and Namor wound up killing T'Challa, that is your baddie. That
I
is your
agree.
baddie. And we didn't get that.
It was more like it felt more like you're on vacation and you can see other people on the beach and you're like, "Hey, who's that?"
I know. Who is that?
I don't know. Familiar. Oh, he's coming over. Quick, quick. Oh, he's coming over now. Okay, hold on. Hey, how are you? Like it kind of felt like that. Although they kind of were guarding themselves, but it was clear he wasn't going to hurt them. Like this was he could have snuck attacked them if he wanted to. It was nighttime. So I think that while they were on the defense, he clearly in that scene was not coming there to fight them and wanted to talk.
Mhm.
And like it also was maybe I think the expectation of him being a baddie was something that was confusing in some of the trailers. And I do kind of want to talk. Obviously this man is very attractive. The man who
Mhm.
plays
Absolutely.
and I just he was so smoking hot. This man, he very charismatic, so attractive. And I do want to
Yes.
Norwegian Kryptonian. I'm getting distracted, Lorraine, talking about Namor. Thank you,
That's
thank
understandable,
Yes, it's Terrier. It's Terrier. I'm saying Norwegian Kryptonian. No, it's Terrier Tiberius Monk. Hi, Terrier. How are you? A very good friend and also a member of the PGS. So good to see you, Terrier. I hope you are well. I hope your family is well. Terrier says,
Mhm.
have not seen it yet, but really don't care about any review. Understandable. The original caught me totally off guard, and I like to experience it myself. Yes, and I can understand a lot of people feeling that way.
Mhm.
And that's why I wanted to make this kind of a little somewhat more non-spoiler because we already know that
Exactly.
a lot of the members of the PGS probably have not seen the film yet, and we're
Mhm.
just kind of talking about our general impressions of the film.
Absolutely, because when it comes down to it, you need to make the decision for yourself. No one can tell you whether you should or should not like this film at all. If you're interested, by all means, check it out for yourself to make up your own opinion. We're just here to offer our 2 cents and let you know what we thought about it and everything, but we're not here to tell you whether you should or should not watch it.
Absolutely, and I do kind of want to and thank you whoever cast that man as Namor. Thank you so much. He's just been wonderful to look at in this film. I did want to also touch on the fact that and you and I have spoken about this. Ruth
Mhm.
Carter, who designed the costumes for Black Panther and for Wakanda Forever,
Yes.
just did such a phenomenal job. And here's Sherry wearing one of the costume designs. Everything was just spectacular looking.
Beautiful.
And as Rosa, I think it's Rosa from the other day said, she thinks that Ruth Carter will definitely get another nomination, possibly winning the award for best costume design.
She had better because visually stunning. You cannot dispute that fact. The costuming definitely definitely on point, up to par with someone of Ruth Carter's caliber.
Absolutely. It is something to think about. For those of you who are interested in costumes, like Lorena and I are, we absolutely love the costumes in so many of these entertainment IPs. This is
Mhm.
maybe the best one this year in film for me, Lorena, and I was so looking forward to it. They had sort of a preview of the costumes. Excuse me. And Robert has interviewed Ruth Carter. I think it's on the John Campia website, but
Did
um,
he? Oh my gosh, I have to see that.
yes, guys. So for those of you out there, please check it out. I think it's on the John Campia website, I think, but you'll find the link here on the PGS for his interview with Ruth Carter just a few weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what this woman has done. And Ruth Carter, not that she's watching, but you are amazing, Ruth Carter. We love you.
Yes, you are absolutely amazing. Just the greats. When I think of great costuming, Ruth Carter, it's like Ruth Carter, or it needs to be up to the level of Ruth Carter. That's how high the bar is set.
Absolutely, because these are all original works that she's doing. It's not she's not pulling this off of off of the rack, off the peg, or anything like that. She
No.
these are creations, and it's true that she's inspired by African designs, and that's fine. Whatever her inspiration is, but the execution of it is just so lovely. For all the costumes, I have to give her credit. I'm stunned by her talent. So thank you, Ruth Carter. And also, the other thing I want to mention are the ladies in the film. And since this is a film that primarily focuses on female leads, they all look
Mhm.
wonderful. I was trying to find one picture on here that has this is just a picture of Sherry in this incredible costume, but actually here is a picture of some of them. Um, actually, that's not it. That's from another film. But the point that I'm making is that the ladies in this film were just phenomenal in every way. I was so impressed with what Ruth did. Here's another picture of one of the ladies, and look at you can just see the costume design there is spectacular. Um,
Yes.
but we had like the Dora Milaje were back, and they had a very strong presence. Angela Bassett, and see if I can find a picture of her, was back again. She looked incredible.
Mhm.
Ladies represented here, and the way they were presented, they looked just stunningly beautiful. And that was great to see because I think that we had great expectations of what we were going to see there, and we had no choice because they looked so amazing, just overall. So let me just pull up this picture of Angela Bassett here in the film, and she is getting a lot of accolades for her speeches in the film and her acting, and
Mhm.
she's never looked lovelier. And I know I've said this before. Is there anything that Angela Bassett can't do? Like she,
I nothing. I mean, she's in amazing shape. Ruth Carter, what I've noticed when she does costuming, it seems to be not only specific to the character, but also to the actor who's playing the role. Angela Bassett has an amazing figure. God bless her. I hope to look as good as she does when I get to reach her age. The headpieces, everything just looks so put together, and it's like nothing you would see anywhere else. It's a fusion, of what they have going on here with respect to her costuming. It looks like something you wouldn't find anywhere else, and that's what makes this costuming so stunning.
it certainly has that custom made look, custom tailoring, just absolutely extraordinary work. It didn't take a few months to make these costumes. It probably took the better half of a year to
Hmm.
create these fashions, and I'm sure they've used very rare, the best materials that they could find. So honestly, I think those are some of the things that could definitely be celebrated about the film, because we it's true that we have seen things in it, like what we stated just now, that we wanted to
Hmm.
see in the film. I definitely wanted to see those things. We did see those things, and I did just kind of want to
Hmm.
point that out before I kind of get into some of my concerns about the film. And you did also mention, Lorena, some of your concerns as
Hmm.
well. And we're just kind of looking to see. I think for me, my primary concern is that at some point, um, the way that this film performs is going to have an effect over what we get next. And while it's true we're getting a series on Disney Plus, I am also, concerned about future films because I can't imagine a future, um, without seeing films about Wakanda. Like it just doesn't seem right. It feels like that needs to continue. I mean, I'm hoping that despite anything that happens, or let's say its performance in the box office going forward, that
Hmm.
we still are going to say, "Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be a Wakanda Part 3." What do you think about that, Lorena?
Um, I believe I saw an article, an interview, I think, with Brian Coogler, not Brian Coogler, excuse me, Ryan Coogler, about um, a sequel, possible sequel to this film, or I guess maybe like side account. We'll say sequel to Black Panther because Wakanda Forever. I don't really see that as a bona fide sequel. So we'll say a sequel to Black Panther. Like you, just like with the rest of the MCU, for each phase, Wakanda should be mentioned now. It may not be a film, it may be dropped into a film. Like, perfect example, what happened in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. That is my blueprint. If they do something like that, which they may wind up doing, because I don't think I've seen anything that's a specific Black Panther sequel that's been mapped out for Phase 5 that I have seen so far. That could possibly change, but that's from what I've seen so far. I will say that if they do a sequel, they need to pay attention to every single thing that they did not do the right way in Wakanda Forever. There were some very amateurish mistakes made by a director who knows better. I'll put it that way. Who knows better? And it may not completely be all of his fault. I don't think that it is. I think that when it comes to, because now in Hollywood you have filmmaking by committee instead of filmmaking by a filmmaker. Like, it's not Tarantino like anymore. It's the likes of, say, Ryan Coogler and the producers that are doing it instead. So I hope Wakanda returns, but if it does, they've got some things to fix. Let's put it that way.
Well, speaking of things to fix, one of the first things that I noticed about the film when I saw it in the theater was that the scenes of Namor's kingdom were too dark to really see clearly. And the first
Yeah.
that I thought, of course, was that, okay, I'm getting old. I can't see anymore. It's over.
No.
This is, I just kept looking around. I was like, you're old now. And this is what happens. You go to a theater, you try to see
Hmm.
a movie, you can't see it. You're old. So, so that was a concern of mine. And I mentioned it, to you, of course, immediately,
Hmm.
then to another stream. Then on Saturday, when we were talking about it, Friday night, I mentioned it to Robert. And now, from what I understand, it's occurring everywhere. I guess it's not 100% consistent, but there is some issue with the lighting in the scenes in Namor's kingdom. And my concern really is, that I couldn't see it, and I wanted to see this kingdom, and it stopped me from
Hmm.
enjoying the film. Lorena, how did you react to that? Did you have the same experience, and how did it affect your experience?
I did. I did. It's inexcusable given a film like this. You may hear the excuse of, well, that's what it looks like underwater. It's like, no, 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 no. We've seen plenty of movies where there's shots underwater where you can clearly tell what's going on. Aquaman did not have this problem.
Mhm,
You could see everything. You
mhm,
could clearly see where you were underwater with the shot. You're shooting this so that the audience gets immersed and can see what's going on and find out and get attached to the story. And this, it was kind of like, I can't see. I'm like, what is it? Is it like fish poop getting in my way or something? Because it was just so cloudy. And that this scene here where he comes down, that should be clear as a bell because it's a very poignant scene where he floats down to sit on the throne. I didn't like how cloudy that looked. It was, whoever was responsible for the cinematography in that part gets an F. because there's no excuse for it to look that way.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And as I said, it kind of ruined the film for me, because I
Hmm.
couldn't see anything. And the other thing about it is that it's right at a point where Namor says that the Vibranian brought light to his underwater kingdom,
Right.
and it was dark. And I said, wait a minute, it's kind of dark down here, So it was a shame. And apparently
Hmm.
it may be a mistake. I'm not quite sure of all the details, but honestly, that was a huge disappointment for me. It ruined the film for me. I have no idea. Someone says that pool needs a filter. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So honestly, I have no idea if they're ever going to correct this, Lorena. We never got a chance to see the big reveal
Mm.
of this kingdom, which they talked about was very important. There's cultural significance in this part. There's some incredible designs that we just couldn't see clearly. The only
Mhm.
thing I could really see clearly was some of his costume and when he was drawing the hieroglyphics. But the hieroglyphics were huge, like it was
Yeah.
this. So if it were smaller, I think I would have had some issues with it. And I did speak to Robert about this, um,
Mhm.
and he, I'm sure he knows the exact reason why. Whatever the reason is, everybody, the last thing you expect to see when you go to a film is not being able to see it. So
No, it reminds me of, not to interrupt you, but it reminds me of when I went to see Tenet in the theaters, and the audio was so bad. I'm like, how did they release this with the audio so bad? I thought it was just me, and lots of other people were saying the same thing. How we can't understand the movie when the audio is so bad. So how can you release a major motion picture with an amateur mistake like that? And it seems to be happening more and more frequently where we're getting these things in these big budget movies where it's just like it looks like it's, half-assed release. And it's not just movies. Same thing happened in House of the Dragon.
and She-Hulk.
Yes, and She-Hulk. So I don't know what's up with QA, but y'all need to fix that. They really did. Because you
Well,
can make the underwater different from another movie, but make it so we can at least see what's going on.
and there were actual portions, Lorraine, and you recall these portions where they're not underwater anymore. They're just in a cave or a cavern. It was some
Hmm.
beautiful thing. It was like absolutely stunningly beautiful looking, and you could
Right.
see that. So
Hmm.
someone says take a torch.
Take a t- I had to translate that for a minute.
Well, it's just something that I felt was important to bring up in case anybody goes to see it and they
Hmm.
they notice that discrepancy. There was a Twitter post about it, and people all across the world have
Hmm.
noticed it. So not everybody, but it has happened. Now, the other thing I wanted to say, Lorena, before we kind of wrap up the Wakanda discussion and go on to other things, is
Okay.
there was no secret that we already know that there's no secret that in this film there's significantly fewer Wakandian men featured
Yes.
in Wakanda Forever. So it's not
Hmm.
a secret. What I'm curious about is, just from our perspectives, the idea of, is it a benefit, is it detriment, or did it matter in the film? For me, I felt it was a detriment. And the only reason why I felt it was a detriment is because Wakanda felt so exposed and unprotected. And that vulnerability is not necessarily a good feeling, that I was expecting to get from the film, having that sense of security, or at least knowing
Hmm.
that they were there to defend. While we did have women defending as well, they had trouble doing this. I mean, it was clear they were in trouble, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. For you, was it a benefit, a detriment, or it didn't matter at all to the film?
It was a detriment to me, especially given Black Panther, the first movie. You had a lot of male presence in that film. And the central theme of that film, granted, it was indeed family, but it was a father and son dynamic. However, you had women in that film. One of my favorite dynamics in Black Panther is that balance between the Dora Milaje and the Jabari tribesmen. I love that balance. They both complemented each other so well, and that's what made Wakanda's defenses so top notch. Now you have this movie where you hardly see any of the men in areas of prominence, like in Black Panther. M'Baku shows up for maybe a total of 10 minutes in the movie, and he's treated like comic relief. He's not the same character that he was in Black Panther. And Winston Duke is an awesome actor. He's a gorgeous looking man. He's a wonderful actor, and they didn't really use them. I have nothing against having a female led movie if it's good, and this wasn't good. And I really can't say any more than that because I'm going to wind up spoiling it for y'all, but I will tell you I was not pleased with how, let's say, how would I put it? Well, it's not a spoiler considering you see it here in the advertisement, right? If you remember the Black Panther, when that press came out, you had Black Panther in the middle, you had T'Challa in the middle, and it was very balanced. Here, it's prominently female, and in the that third act, why is it that in order to prop up a female led film, you have to denigrate men in order to do it? And that is my problem, and that's exactly what happened in this movie.
Yeah, I think one very important thing I want to follow up on this is that you know, I felt there needed to be an explanation as to where the
Mm-hmm.
Wakandian men were, and it could have been anything they wanted it to be, but it feels like they just vanished. It feels like they don't exist anymore, and we know that this can't be true. So as a result of this, we're missed out on a lot of very interesting interactions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and, I think that was apparent, in so many ways. Now, the other thing that I was going to say is some events in the film, this is the last thing, some events in the film indicated there might be a hookup. And yes, I do mean a hookup, everybody, meaning two people hooking up,
Yeah.
sex. That's what I mean. Um,
Yes.
there's no other way to say it. We've seen situations like this in other films where sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Was this a benefit, a detriment, or it didn't matter in the film?
I felt that it was a detriment because yet again you had another plot hole that you could drive a truck through. One of the great things about really great films is that cycle of setup and payoff. The scenario that you described, we had a setup, but a lousy payoff. And therein lies the crux of that issue. Again, without without giving you spoilers, that is pretty much it. So I thought in the end it was a detriment, and if they were going to go that route, they could have taken out 45 minutes of this movie.
Ooh, that's too much. Um,
No, it's not. That's I'm just kidding.
it's okay. It's okay. Because sometimes I'll click on it and I'm like, oh no, it's like
I
gigantic.
love this outfit. I need it. I need this bodysuit in my life. I'm just saying. I
Guys,
need it in my life.
Ruth Carter, I know, and this is a dream, but maybe she already has done this. She needs to start her own clothing line. And it can just be, it doesn't have to be, I'm not saying 50 pieces, but
Mm,
some nice dresses inspired by Wakanda. Um,
mhm.
and I would buy that.
I
Yeah.
would. Every time I saw her,
Mhm,
Lupita Nyong'o wearing, I'm like, I need that in my life so bad.
mhm. Absolutely. I think the entire film was a triumph of pretty much all the looks. I might have changed one or two things, but honestly, I think overall, the colors and the designs just were stunning. I was trying to get, oh yeah, back to this lady here, were amazing. And I think the other thing that I was going to say is, and when I talk about this kind of hookup situation, um, I just kind of felt like, having love interests are important in these stories. I mean, other superheroes
Absolutely.
have love interests. I
Mhm.
can't imagine like Superman not having a love interest. I just think it's very interesting, and I think it would have given a different dynamic to the film in this case, in particular for Shuri, who she needs some love. She needs a little hug, a little.
She does. It's like a human um element, like something that everyone can relate to. And again, like with the original Black Panther movie, the central theme was that father and son dynamic. So with this, it could have been the classic, I want to say, like Romeo and Juliet scenario. You could have had that happen.
Exactly.
And that's something that's a universal story. And they chose not to go that well. They teased us, let's put it that way, with that route. And I think that's one of the things that was missing from this movie, like a truly universal emotion to get through. Yes, grief is an emotion, but you know what? Grief to produce what? So that's the answer. That's kind of like the question. It's like, so you're grieving. So what? What, to me as the viewer, what does that mean? And what is it that's going to keep me watching this particular film? I mean, how many tropes have you seen of someone who loses someone close to them and they wind up starting a relationship with someone who sees that they're hurting, or they may have said that that's not what I intended to do, but eventually this is what happened.
Exactly. And it is something to think about going forward, and obviously we know I can't show this whole thing that's coming up next, and maybe I can just pause some of it and show just a little second of it.
7 seconds.
But we wanted to share some of the thoughts that we had about the film now that it's been a few days, and some
Hmm.
things that we've noticed and had time to think about. And I think it is worthwhile because there was a lot in this film to talk about, maybe more than anything we've seen in a while, and it certainly did deserve some extra attention. And so this next thing that we're talking about, it's just absolute fantasy and wonderful, about Jason Momoa stripping down. There's his behind,
Whew.
his ass. Okay, I said it. In a traditional Hawaiian malo on Jimmy Kimmel Live, guys. And I can't play it really. There he is. How many seconds? Oh gosh. Oh my God. Oh God. Okay.
All
Okay.
right, I'm going to preface this by saying two things. One, he is half Hawaiian.
Yes.
Two, I've met him in person twice. So,
Don't
so
worry about it. Don't worry. You guys are gonna think I'm like
ooh, I'm
overreacting.
sorry. I started mentally shopping, looking at
I'm
that.
sorry.
Ooh, I'm telling you, if it wasn't for this man, I would not have watched the Aquaman movie. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh God. Can I make it bigger? Yeah.
And he
Is it
did
bright
it.
enough?
Is it what?
Is it bright enough? It feels dark.
Maybe, but I'm sorry. I'm really distracted right now.
Oh my God. Three,
The
four,
whole thing.
five.
Okay, I'm dead. I'm dead now. I'm completely dead. I can't right now. I can't. I can't.
Yes, this is our Aquaman. Truly, just a fantastic body this man has. Okay.
This is why women went to go see Aquaman. Don't get it twisted.
It is very true. And to be honest with you, I think that it takes a lot of guts to, show your body like that. Um, and I did kind of want to talk about it. They said in Jimmy Kimmel, obviously, they got quite an eyeful on Wednesday night when he was a guest. The
Hmm.
43-year-old Slumberland, which is his new film coming out, actor arrived on the show in his costume for the Netflix film, purple satin pajamas and a pink velvet coat with shiny embellishments. So you knew something was up, because that's even way more laid back than we know Momoa. Like, he's laid back, but this is even more laid back, right?
Yeah, this is like laid back at another level when it comes to him.
But Momoa soon stripped out of the vibrant look in favor of showing off some skin. Referencing his recent Instagram post where he's fishing in traditional Hawaiian Malo, Momoa explains, "I'm doing a show. I'm a creator and a writer and director and producer on this Apple series called Chief of War. And it's all
Mhm.
1780s, 1790s Hawaii. That's what I wear every day. I was just getting ready for the role. And I like to get into character. So I was tanning my white. Um, Momoa says he loves the minimal look, noting, I actually don't even like wearing clothes anymore. I'm in it every day. I wear it all the time. Um, there's another picture of it, and I'm now, I have to kind of look at it from the point of view of this is a cultural tradition.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I certainly don't. And guys, Tom Jr. Jackson has posted Ruth Carter's interview
Ooh.
in the chat, guys. So do check that out. The person who designed the costumes for Black Panther and Wakanda, Robert interviewed her. So check it out in the link in the chat. This is a cultural tradition. And yes, it's true. He's kind of showing his body, but this is not in a lewd way. This is not. This is more of I'm going to embrace my culture. And he said he's working on a film.
Yes, he is.
So that is important. I think it's, and I don't know why the picture's so dark, but I think it's really important to understand that sometimes nudity isn't always a detriment. It's not always sexual. This is not done in a sexual way. He is showing you his physique and he's showing you that he's going to be in this film and what they would traditionally wear. So he's not trying to, yes, it is arousing, but it's not for that intention.
Yeah, exactly. It's a side benefit. I mean, if you're in hot people that are in hot cultures who are, fishing and doing stuff like that, they're not wearing a whole bunch of clothes on. So I mean, this is not something that's out of the ordinary.
Yes, and I do want to thank Shelly Lee for the $11 super chat.
Shelly Lee.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Shelly says,
Mhm.
ladies, and we're like, yes. Um,
Mhm.
Stop your
Yes.
thirsting now. You ain't lying though. Can we talk about the delicious drink of water that is Tina Huerta? Did you see him dancing merengue with Lupita? No, I have not seen that.
Yes, I did. I love Tanakh
Oh,
Huerta.
oh,
I saw him dancing merengue. I love him to death. He's a little stiff with that merengue. I can say that because I've danced a lot of merengue with Dominicans, but he did a good job leading. Though I did see that. It was cool. It was for the premiere of Wakanda Forever, actually in Mexico City.
now, what's interesting about that, and that kind of alludes back to my question about the idea of a hookup in Wakanda Forever. And Lorena, you and I have talked about this in
Hmm.
detail. And guys, you can check out Lorena's channel for the review that we did, and also Paulie's channel for where we reviewed it more, and also here on the PGS on Midnight Musings. But I did want to say that that man is so charismatic, so attractive, so sexy. We were wanting, it's almost like we wanted to see that sexiness in the film from him. And, rightfully so. He's incredibly charismatic. He's handsome, and that spurred my interest. Really, I'm become a huge fan of his. I think it's very
Hmm.
interesting that something about the actor has transferred into the film and made him so incredibly appealing to all of us. And I enjoyed that immensely. So Shelley Lee, I hear you, my dear. And thank you for letting us know. And in regards to Momoa's dress, traditional dress, my
Hmm.
question is, I think it's very interesting seeing a natural reveal like this versus kind of like the jarring reveal we got in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, that was too much too fast and didn't make sense. This was, yeah, he made us work for it. It wasn't done for shock value. I mean, eventually it was, but it wasn't just like, boom, here it is, without any context. And I think that was the problem with Thor: Love and Thunder. With this, it's just like, are you really wearing that traditional outfit? Really? Oh yeah, yeah, I got it on right now. Let me show you. Let me show you. Let me show you. He took his time taking it off. He didn't like rip off his pants like he was a Chippendale stripper.
Yeah, and it wasn't a strip tease. It was more of, I wouldn't be surprised if he started to do some other kind of traditional dance, but I'm sure he didn't have time to sort of like go through the entire motions of what is involved. But you're right, Lorena. He was very careful, very
Hmm.
respectful. He didn't shock anybody. You could see he was what he was carefully doing is enough time to turn the channel if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, send the kids out the
Yep, enough
house.
time to get the kids, oh, there's ice cream inside. Oh, yay. To get them out of there. And,
Uh-huh.
and then you proceed from there. But it also was not lewd. It wasn't shocking. It was
No,
respectful nudity. And I think
exactly.
that, we need to have more things like this where we can accept people for, in situations like this. This was a refreshing and a quite exhilarating thing to see. Gee, he's just fun to watch. He has this incredible charisma, and I think Hemsworth is the same way. It's just that Hemsworth didn't get a chance to, because when you see Hemsworth in some of his other shows, not the movies, but some of his
Mhm.
other projects, he's a lot of fun too. Like, they have such great personalities, and I like to see situations like this where we get to see them having fun. I think it sends a very positive message, and it makes you excited about projects, because I am so excited about this project.
I am as well. Speaking of Hemsworth, and you're right, because if you've ever seen this movie on Netflix, if you haven't, it's called Spiderhead. Chris Hemsworth is so different in that movie, just with the dark humor and deadpan delivery on some of that stuff. I'm like, is this the same guy? I actually enjoyed that more than Thor: Love and Thunder, but you're right. When you see them in these different projects, sometimes you get to see like more of who their personality is. And I really think Chris Hemsworth was himself when he was in Spiderhead. And what Jason just did, that literally is his personality. He's just a dude just trying to have some fun.
Hemsworth is, and Momoa may also be this way. I'm not quite sure, but Hemsworth is like an adventurer. He does these adventurous types of things. So it was
Hmm.
kind of like also odd to see him in that position too, because he's. I almost see him as an explorer, somebody who likes physical challenges. All those sorts of things too. So I think it's very interesting, guys. If you want to see more of that, check out Hemsworth as what Lorena said on some of his other shows as
Hmm.
well. But guys, go ahead and enjoy this. Uh, we just had to include this segment about Momoa and the projects that he has coming up. Certainly, we do want to check those out. And now, the other thing that I was going to say, I don't want to take the picture down. I don't
I
want to.
know, right?
I don't want to.
Oh, doesn't need a
Oh,
picture.
darn! Darn. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Now, on to the last topic of the night, Lorena.
Mhm.
And I'm like patting myself on the back about it, but it's kind of a confusing topic, only because I said it's like, can we have some candor about Andor? Candor
Mm.
about Andor. And it's kind of like, what exactly do I mean? What I mean is, as far as I'm concerned, when you look at Star Wars Andor, um, and you look at the list of people who were involved in this project, and the audience reviews and things like that, you have incredible, actors like Stellan Skarsgård,
Mhm.
what's the other gentleman's name? I'm forgetting everybody. Um, Forrest Whitaker. Um, the score, the the score seems pretty okay, and I know sometimes it's hard to go by that score, but honestly, when you look at the actors who were involved in this, Diego Luna, who's a great actor, um, Genevieve O'Reilly, Fiona Shaw, these aren't, like, the majority of them are very well known actors who have had successful careers. So they didn't need the show. Like, this isn't a show where it's like they had to do the show for their career. You know,
Mhm.
they got a cast of people who are, pretty well seasoned. Some of them are unknowns, but honestly, they're great actors. And as far as I'm concerned, with some of the sets that I've seen in the show, I
Mhm.
personally have been impressed with the sets. I enjoyed it. I'm looking at, I'm like, this looks great. Some of the sets reminded me of Jedi Fallen Order and all this sort of stuff. And the thing
Mhm.
is, even though I'm enjoying the show so much, the fact of the matter remains that there are some people who just, this is not the show for them. So I have to ask you, Lorena, is Andor a show that you're enjoying, or did you respond to it differently?
I responded to it differently. I went into it with an open mind, considering that I've fallen asleep on Rogue One, and Rogue One really does not. It didn't really interest me, but I figured I would check out Andor. They dropped 3 episodes. The first 2 episodes that I saw were some of the most longest drawn out episodes I'd ever watched. And it wasn't until episode 3 and Stellan Skarsgård showed up did things actually start to get moving. Now, your girl is all for a slow burn, but like what I say with respect to setup and payoff, they took too long to do that. So by the time things came together in episode 3, I was just like, I'm really not interested in continuing to watch. Maybe I'll check it out in the future, but I'm just not. It just didn't grab me. And I would say also add to that with the attitude that several people, Lucasfilm employees, official Star Wars account, have acted towards fans who were just like, for whatever reason, and we had our issues with it. I know I had my issues with it, with Book of Boba Fett, with Kenobi, where our criticism was based on what was shown and not some other agenda that was going on. Legitimate criticism, basically getting torched for that by Lucasfilm. So it's just like, okay, well, if that's what you're going to do, my patience isn't as long as it would be. So for me, I was just like, no, I'm pretty much done with watching Andor. What I've seen, however, the visuals look very nice, and it's definitely better than the Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi. I will say that. But as for me personally, I'm that audience that is just tapped out after 3 episodes, and I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for season 3 of The Mandalorian. So you can wake me up when that starts.
I will wake you up when that starts. And I did just want to bring it up because, of course, this was bound to happen in a sense, because what's happened is that because of this isn't maybe not necessarily be the truth for everybody, but
Hmm.
generally speaking, because of the inconsistencies of the shows, what we've been seeing, it makes
Mm,
a lot of people turned off by anything that they have, even if it's something, different like this from what you would normally see in a Star Wars show. It's like they want to do a different show, something different, something we haven't seen before. And people are like, well, I don't know, the last 2 shows I didn't enjoy. And now you want me to watch something that's so different. I could see how people would not be, excited for that. And the other thing that I was going to say is, the show, there's only maybe 1 or 2 episodes left until the season finale.
hmm.
Do you think that if people love the season finale and people really like it, do you think that it will have a second chance after all the episodes are released?
I think it depends on just how personally interested you are in seeing it. I would put it to you like that. If it was something that you're personally invested in, or like, hey, I finally heard really good word of mouth, maybe I'll go and check it out. I think it depends on how personally invested you are. I'm more invested in the Mandalorian than I am with Andor, so I'm probably not even going back to see this. So I think it just depends. But like you said earlier, you're right. When I look at all of the Disney Star Wars, the Disney Plus Star Wars shows, the show running is extremely uneven. I love The Mandalorian, and I almost dropped out of season 2 because the season was just so uneven. The show running was awful. It seemed like the latter part of that season, they finally hit the gas,
Mhm.
and things started to pick up. Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, double So yeah, you're right. Some of it's just like it's like I don't see anything consistent, and that's how some people are. It's like it's not consistent. Those 2 shows didn't work out. Now you have this 12 episode show that you want me to be interested in. This may be one of those things that after it airs, people may go back after a couple months and check it out.
Yeah, and it was something that I thought about, and I said with maybe the show that has maybe the best actors, possibly better writing than the other shows.
I would agree with that.
More of an effort to make the show, we're not seeing any of those silly errors like people hiding under raincoats and nonsense like that.
Wearing Gap sweaters.
That's right. We're not seeing that. So, I thought, maybe it has a chance, but it is 12 episodes, and this is the most that we've seen, right, in a series
Mhm.
now,
Yeah.
with others being less. The Mandalorian starts in February, then we have Ahsoka, the Ahsoka
Mhm.
series, if not around that same time. They just
Right.
released a Studio Ghibli short of Grogu, which I'm hoping
That's
will make
funny.
exactly. I'm just hoping that, um, you know, going forward now, this means that there's going to be an improvement in quality. So we'll see what happens. But I did have to bring it up because I had to be candor about Andor. Yes, I like saying that, Lorena. And thank you, Lorena, for being here tonight, where we're talking about all these entertainment things that are going on this week. Lorena, where can people find you?
Well, folks, you can find me on Twitter, causing mischief like I usually do. You can find me on Instagram, and of course, you can find me on YouTube, where I do various live streams, videos, also with at times too. You can catch us together for Toxic Male Appreciation. You can catch us together also for My Animated Life when we do anime streams and various other shows.
Perfect. And guys, you can always catch me here on the PGS. You can also catch me on Positive Fandom, obviously for my Sunday brunch show at 10:30 a.m. on Sundays, and on Mondays here on the PGS, Ladies of the PGS. Also, during the week, sometimes you can find me on the 1/6 Scale Man Network on either Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. Lorraine and I do have our Toxic Male Appreciation Show, which she streams on her Twitch channel on Thursdays at 5 p.m. and then the restream on YouTube on Sundays at 1. Fridays, you can also catch me at 12 o'clock on Midnight's Edge in the morning. And you can always catch me here on Musings with Robert Meyer Burnett, either on Fridays or Saturday nights on the weekend, guys. So I do want to thank all of you out there for tuning in tonight. We certainly do appreciate you all. And no matter where you are in the galaxy, guys, what you're doing. Oh, and we are all goof people. Tom Jr. Jackson, thank you for your help.
Oh,
Louise X Sparrow, thank you for your help as well. I did see your name here tonight. And for anyone in all the moderators who are here who are helping, thank you so much for your help. Yes, and for everyone out there in the galaxy. Okay, there I can say it now.
there we go.
Always remember to please be kind. Thank you so much, Lorena, for joining us as always.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, have a good night. Bye.
Bye.